Today I'm going to tell you the story about George Finney. This story takes place in the year 1900, almost 120 years ago. I never met George Finney, and I've never seen a picture of him, so I don't know what he looked like. Was he tall? Was he short? Did he have dark hair or light hair? Maybe he was bald. Did he have a mustache? Did he wear glasses? But I did some research and I learned a few things about George. I know he was born in England in 1852, so when he disappeared, he would have been about 48 years old. According to the 1891 census, George was a colliery carpenter. He was working on building coal mine structures, and this coal mine was at Hat Creek. In fact, George was the first person to mine the Hat Creek coal. George worked hard at digging up the coal, and apparently there were really deep holes everywhere in George's property. One hole was 180 feet deep. Well, another thing about George is he liked to drink a wee bit, and George often carried a bottle of whiskey with him. The last time anyone saw George, he was about 7 miles out of Ashcroft on the trail riding to his home at Marble Canyon. But no one knew George was missing until a few days later when Bruce, the Lillooet teamster, pulled up his 4-horse team at the mouth of Marble Canyon, climbed down from the high seat of his wagon, unhitched his horses, stabled them, gave them some oats, and then walked across the way to the improvised roadhouse, owned and operated by George Finney, original owner of the Hat Creek coal mines. Bruce was a little annoyed that Finney hadn't appeared to help stable the horses, but he thought maybe he was up digging that crazy mine of his. Bruce went into the house in search of something to eat. There was fire in the cook stove, a kettle containing water stood steaming on the stove, and Bruce thought perhaps that the owner had recently eaten and headed off to the mine. The teamster opened the outside kitchen door to cool the atmosphere, stirred the fire, added some fuel, and prepared himself a meal, expecting at any moment Finney would appear and take charge. But the meal was cooked, table set, and the food was consumed. Bruce went out to hitch up his team, and he left in the direction of Ashcroft without Finney ever putting in an appearance. Bruce didn't bother locking the door, and he left the dishes without washing them. A few days later, Bruce returned and found that things in the Finney kitchen were just as he had left them. Not a thing had been disturbed. None of the dishes had been washed, and the pots and pans were on the stove just as he had left them. Bruce put his hands on his hips, walked around the small room, then outside, where there was no sign of Finney's horse or saddle. He was deep in thought. Finney, wherever he was, had not returned. Had he gone on a trip? Hunting? He had left no note, and later on, when Bruce asked around Lillooet and Ashcroft, no one had seen Finney. A search party was conducted by Government Agent Burr from Ashcroft. They searched for George far and wide for several days without success. There were rumors that George was seen here and there, all over the province, but George Finney has not turned up to this day. Some years afterwards, on the hills on Hat Creek, a human skull was found. Several more years went by. They found a rusted rifle a few miles from where the skull had been found. Could this be all that was left of George? What do you think happened to George Finney?